Okay, we are now going to look at multiplying decimals by either multiples or powers of 10, and also dividing decimals by powers of 10. So this is quite simple. The simplest thing that we do when we do this is, let's look at the first example, 2.75 times 10. So if I rewrite just 2.75 multiplied by 10, things to keep note of, and that's what I'm going to write at the bottom, is 1. What is the power of 10 that it is multiplied by? So you first look at that. So if you have a look, multiplied by 10, 10 just, it can be rewritten also. 10 is equal to 10 to the power of 1. Okay, so two things we take note of. One, how many how many zeros are there in the number that we're multiplying by? So that's 1 0. Now this 1 0 also, if you have a look, this 1 0 matches the power of 10 as well, which is just 1. So therefore that gives us an indication of how many places we move the decimal point. So the rule is that when we're multiplying, then the decimal point shifts to the right. In doing so, what happens is that all the digits in the number 2.75, their place value is increased by 1 place value. Okay, so if we're moving it to the right, so at the moment, the 5 is 5 hundredths. That'll become 5 tenths. The 2 is in the place value of 2 ones. That increases by 1, which becomes 2 tenths. So we'll have a look how that happens. So rule number 1, when we multiply, the decimal point shifts to the right. So correct that. Finish that. And the number of places, or the number of times it moves, or how many places it moves to the right, okay, this matches the power or the number of zeros. Okay, so if you look at 2.75, 1 0, power of 10 is 1. You take your pen to the decimal point, move it 1 place to the right, and your answer becomes 27.5. So if you have a look, okay, 2 was 2 ones, but now it's 27. That becomes 20. So your place value of each of the digit increases by 1, because that 1 matches the 0, 1 0 in the 10, and also the power of 1 to 10. Okay, now if we multiply 4.591 times 6,000, we use the same strategy. The only thing we do is, let's split the 6,000. 6,000 means 6 times 1,000. And if I rewrite backwards, and that is multiplied by 4.591. So if you remember, when we multiply a decimal by a whole number, all we do is do 4.591 multiplied by 6. And we just do our long multiplication. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 9 is 54. Write down the 4, carry the 5. 6 times 5 is 30, plus 5 is 35. Write down the 5, carry the 3. 6 fours are 24, plus 3 gives me 27. If I do that, and then the rule, this has got 3 decimal places. 3 decimal places. This has got 0 decimal places. In total, your answer will be 3 decimal places. So therefore, if I move from right to left, I count 3 decimal places. That means 3 digits, 1, 2, 3, and I get 27.546. Now remember, 27.546 is only 4.591 multiplied by 6. We also have to do this times by 1,000, which we have not done. Okay, so we need to bring that down. And then all of that, I'll just rub that off, bring that down, multiplied by 1,000. We still have to do that. So looking at, going back to when we're multiplying by a power of 10, now 1,000 has got 3 zeros. Okay, and also 1,000 can be rewritten as times by 10 to the power of 3. So it's 27.546 multiplied by 10 to the power of 3 or 1,000. They mean the same thing. What do we see? We've got a power of 3. We've got 3 zeros. So therefore, we move our decimal point to 3 places to the right. 1, 2, and 3. And we end up with 27546 as our final answer. Okay, let's move on. What do we do when we divide by 100 or divide by powers of 10? Okay, now, quite simple, common sense. When we multiply, if we have a look, when we multiply, the decimal point shifts right. And it matches the power of 10. When we divide, it's basically the reverse. So when we're dividing, our decimal point, it shifts left. And it matches the power of 10. Or the number of zeros in your number. Okay, which makes sense because what happens is all the digits in that number is reducing instead of increasing. All right, so let's rewrite 57.1 divided by 10 to the power of 2. Okay, and let's identify that there's 2, 100 is 10 squared. So 2, the power is 2, matches with the 2 zeros. Okay, and because we are dividing, we're going to shift left, matching the number of power, 2 places, 1, 2, and we end up with 0.571, and we always put a 0 in front. So we get 0.571.